promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning, how to do everything website, all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we doing live? It goes in eternity.
All right, let's get it going. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go! Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. It is 10 p.m. Thursday evening, and we are here live on Studio A. Yeah, you've waited all week for the most cutting-edge topics and guests, and now it is time to deliver. That's right, it's the Stephen D. Kelley Show with your host, Stephen D. Kelley.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Stephen D. Kelley Show. I'm your host, Stephen D. Kelley. Another great show tonight. We have a return. Stu Webb has returned tonight, and we're going to have Chip Tatum with us again very soon. He actually is on another program. He's getting to be quite busy out there. So he is going to be joining us hopefully within 30 minutes to an hour. So it's a 2-hour show. So I'm sure Stu is perfectly capable of keeping us all entertained and informed during that time. In the meantime, I'd like to remind everybody that we are listener-supported radio. We do depend on your donations. It's very easy to help us out. Go to our site support page, which is basically, if you go to the www.freedomslips.com, there's a button that's very easy to find, and we take PayPal or whatever, send checks. Anyway, your support is very much appreciated, and you're what keep us alive, and you're what keep us able to bring you this information. I also want to remind people that we have a very active chat. And if you are listening to this on the computer, there's very easy to go in there and join the chat. You can have up to 250 people in the chat, so there's lots of room for you to get in there, and that's a great way to ask questions. If you don't want to call in, you can ask questions in chat. We monitor the chat. My producer, Sean Bell, and myself both monitor the chat so we can see your questions and we can get right on those. Also, we have a Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/freedomslips. I'd like to see as many people as possible join our Facebook page because that is where the hosts like to advertise our shows and talk about who we are having for guests, and it's just a great way of keeping in touch with what we do here at the station. Also, I have my own Facebook page. If you're interested, it's very easy to, I've got room for another 1,000 people can join me, and it's very easy to find me. Just Google my name, Stephen D. Kelley, and that's also a great way of going to our past shows, like the last show where we had Stu and Chip Tatum on. It was a very excellent show. And I highly recommend, if you enjoy this show and if you enjoy what we're doing, to go back and look at those. And you can access those in the archives on the freedomslips.com page, or you can just go straight to Google, or actually you could Google, or you could go to Facebook. I'm sorry, not Facebook, YouTube, and do a search for my name, and they'll all pop up. Anyway, okay, without further ado, how you doing, Stu? Are you still there? You went to go get some coffee. Are you back with us yet?
I am with you, and I want to thank you, Stephen, for having me on.
Thank you, Stu. It's always a pleasure to have you with me. I got to tell you, since the last show, when you and Gene were on, that was a very exciting show, and I really want to thank you for bringing him to us. And I guess you guys have been awful darn busy since then. I see that you've been on Kerry Cassidy's show, and you did another program here recently, and obviously Gene is on a show right now, so you guys have really become a hot commodity. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on and what that's been like?
Well, actually, he's with a movie producer. They're going to do a series on TV with him. I can't get into any of it with you, but that part of it. But he'll be joining us the second hour. He said he should be able to get back to being the full next hour. But yeah, it's gotten him a lot of attention. All I'm trying to do is get him introduced into the radio world again, like I did back in the mid '90s. And when they're on, you guys can have him and do shows separate with him.
Well, no, I'll tell you though, I do appreciate having you on at the same time with him here, because you're certainly know the right questions to ask. I mean, you know a little bit more about him than I do. I'll tell you, I was kind of curious. I was thinking about what sort of things I wanted to ask him tonight, and I'm kind of was anxious to hear about his story about when he was in Cambodia and that mission he did behind enemy lines, so to speak. That would be kind of fun to hear about. But otherwise, aside from that, what's new and exciting in your world? What kind of trouble have you been getting into?
Well, I've done several articles this week. If you haven't seen them, they're up on Veterans Today, and they're on my website, StuWebb.com. But AIPAC in Abramoff operated a child sex blackmail ring. AIPAC Millman Bush Clinton. Excuse me, I'll back up. There's an article, or not an article, but I'm tired tonight. There's a radio program with Leo Wanta, Ambassador Leo Wanta, which is a Reagan Mitterrand protocols that we put back up. I have another article called AIPAC and Abramoff. I said that. The Octopus, Nothing is Secret. AIPAC, the Denver Illuminati Wizards, Espionage and Fraud. I've got the Press TV interview I did this past about a week and a half ago. They didn't like that for some reason, Stephen.
Yeah, no doubt. What's all happened? I mean, is the pressure been getting a little intense since you did that interview?
Yeah, they knocked my phone down. They knocked me off of Facebook. They knocked my phone down and computer down for 2 hours. Had to have the phone company actually come out here and fix the problem. They couldn't figure it out, but they said that my frequency was off about 3 times as high as normal. And they knocked me off of Facebook for 2.5 days, and I can't even get my Facebook to function properly, and they won't answer me. And, somebody drove through my front yard. I didn't see it, didn't even hear it, but apparently it was in the middle of the night or something, and I work late usually and would have heard it, but somebody drove through and decided that they were going to, as kids, we used to call it farming people's yards. I think everybody's done that.
But they did some donuts in your lawn or something?
Yeah, more or less. Work the yard a little bit. So
well,
next
hopefully
time they come through, I got a surprise for them, and I'm not going to say, but I hear a kaboom going off, and when that happens, maybe I'll find the rest of the car out in the front yard.
Well, be careful, because I guess the powers that be frown on booby traps.
Yeah, well, I don't call the police around here anymore.
Yeah. So you're out in the boonies, Stu?
No, I'm not. I'm right in the city.
Okay. Whereabouts in the world are you? I'm here in California, West Coast.
I'm in Kansas City area. Yeah, suburb of Kansas City, out in Independence.
And where does Chip live? Is he close to you, or is he close?
He's in Florida.
Oh, okay. All over the place. Wow. So anyway, you did Kerry Cassidy's show. You did another show. I noticed it was what was it, Texas TV or something like that?
I do Seattle TV twice every week. I have 2 programs on there that they've been bringing me on since January. They got a pretty good listening audience. I think they're up to 800,000 viewers now because of what we've been doing each program.
Those are some pretty good numbers.
Yeah, they are. They're on cable, Cox or Comcast cable channel 77 out there at 10 p.m. on. They play the interviews on Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. and Tuesday evening at 10 p.m. and then they play it again on Friday evening at 10 p.m.
Well, we do pretty good. You know, we're Revolution Radio has been growing really healthily. I'm sure you're aware. And I think we're probably got at least a million good listeners. In about 6 months or so, we should triple that when we get on this iHeartRadio.
That's fantastic. So, I'm glad.
Yeah, pretty exciting stuff.
You know, you've got some good hosts besides yourself and Lorraine. I like her, and you have some others, and you know.
Yeah, well, I'm in good company certainly, and they've all been very gracious and made me feel welcome. So I'm very happy to be part of this family, and I am happy to promote them. And I think Nighthawk has done a good thing. And you know, we pray for Nighthawk. We want him to stay healthy because you know, God bless him. We hope that he is sticking around because my gosh, we don't need anything happening to him.
Well, right? You know, everybody that makes noise is underneath the attack. So.
Yeah, well, but, you know, I'll tell you, we don't care. You know, if I know you don't have any fear, and I sure as heck don't have any fear. And I'll tell you, I challenge them, you know. It's like we're in their face, you know, and how much more in their face could we possibly be, right?
That's the way I look at it. I'm out there on the front lines all the time, and, you know, I'm still breathing. So.
No kidding.
Still breathing. I'm still carrying my 45.
Oh, really? Well,
kind of sloppy and loose, you know. It only jams about one every 500 rounds. But
what do you got? A 1911 or what?
Yeah, I got an old Colt. But if I hit something with it, it takes the head off, or it takes the heart out. So.
I'm a Glock man myself. You know, Glock 21, 15 rounds with a +2 magazine. What more do you need, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I carry my extra clips, believe me.
Yeah. No, but I'm not a gun guy anymore. My weapon is my voice, and I'm a little sickly tonight. I don't know if you guys noticed. I just took a bunch of cold medication, and so I'm kind of artificially propped up.
You're propped up, and I'm worn out.
Yeah. Well, don't get too worn out.
That's a good combination tonight, huh?
Yeah. Anyway. Well, I want to get a chance. You know, seeing as we are not going to get Gene in here till the second hour, I think what we might do different tonight is we'll go ahead and allow callers throughout the whole show. Normally, we wait till the second half of the show to bring callers in, but since Gene isn't going to be joining us, or hopefully will be joining us, you know, within the second hour, I think you mind if we open up the phone lines, Stu?
Oh, go ahead.
All right. Well, the call-in number is area code 347-688-2902. And if you want to Skype in, it's Freedom Screen is the Skype. Is that right, Sean?
Yep, that's correct.
All right, good. Thank you. And I'll tell you guys right now that are listening, I am not going to accept any Ted Gunderson questions. You're going to get booted. If I hear Ted Gunderson come out of anybody's mouth, we're going to drop you like a rock. I hope you don't mind, Stu, but we don't need that tonight.
Oh, that's good. Matter of fact, I since the last show, I decided to set the record straight on Ted Gunderson once and for all, and it's in 2 stories up on my website. If a person goes to stewwebb.com, center column, it says APEC and Abramoff operated child sex blackmail ring. And in there I pointed out about Ted Gunderson and George Pender operating one for Daddy Bush back in the 80s that the Washington Times did. And there's several other things in there about how he set up Dave Hinkson in prison and for 40 years to life. And Dave's been in there for 10 years and he's innocent. It was a murder for hire scheme to steal his water oils business. And I have one about the octopus, Nothing is Secret, about how he set up Michael Reconnaissudal. And Michael has served 20 years in prison illegally because of Ted Gunderson out of 24 years. Now, he'll be out in 4 years, and believe me, he has a lot to say, but I also have a former U.S. Customs, New York cop, former customs agent, Jimmy Rothstein. I've known him since 1990. 1991 time frame, he will be coming on the air with me here in the next couple of weeks. He's tied up in some matters, but he investigated all that. And he investigated Gunderson heavily and knew that Gunderson was going around in behalf of the government, acting as a patriot, setting people up from way back. So with that said, save your questions, go read the stories, figure it out for yourself. The guy was out there to take names. That's what he was about. So, I know that there's a lot of people out there. The ones that are calling in are the ones that are very nervous, that are working his old operations. And one of them was Doug Millar, that used to attack Laureen Fenton, your talk show host, there on Revolution Radio, at all her different super soldier conferences and the different ones. He tried to do everything he could to interfere. He used to work with Gunderson. Now, there's still several of his stooges out there, and I'll go ahead and say it, because I do have one up here, rest in peace, Ken Adachi. Ken Adachi of EducateYourself.org. The guy's been dead they've hijacked his identity. He has been dead for 24 years. There's a guy named John Allman that has hijacked his identity with a Doreen Miller. They're both working for the Sheriff's Department out of Florida. And they've been out there as part of a joint task force group putting out disinformation. And that's the only site out there that has all this stooge game on it. And these are the ones that have slandered me and demonized me, and we're all part of this group. They work for FBI, non-badge carrying and non-gun carrying. So with that said, judge for yourself, folks. I've said it.
Well, I hope when your associate gets out of jail and you start hitting the circuit that you will certainly come and visit us.
The customs agent within the next 2 weeks. He's the one that investigated Michael Riconosciuto being illegally put in prison. He also investigated the whole child sex ring, including part of the finders, tied into all this stuff that was being operated by Daddy Bush's stooges, FBI, Ted Gunderson, and George Pender of the CIA. They were the Capason Indian Reservation connection. And he's going to be out there talking about this here in the next 2 weeks. Jimmy Rothstein, former New York cop, former U.S. Customs, retired. So he was in the middle of that. He saw what happened. And he tried to bust him. So I'll leave it as that. Tell you a lot about Gunderson.
Yeah.
So I don't need to say it.
Anyway, well, yeah, we don't need to go there tonight. I know the guy that had called in last week and started the little furor. He's actually a friend of mine on Facebook, and he sent me a message today, kind of asking questions. It's like whatever, just leave it alone.
What Gunderson had done, and let's just set the record straight on this. He went around infiltrating all the whistleblowers and all those that were making noise back in the 1990s. He did it to me. And he would run around and interview you and then play buddy-buddy to you and try to get you to promote him on radio shows, which I even did. And, that's where he came across Tatum, was at a global science meeting. He had some radio show running out of Dallas and at the time, and he had asked me if I would hook him up with Tatum because I was booking his first show for him, and so I did. So he runs the Global Sciences down there, which used to be in existence, no longer, and he starts videotaping 2 or 3 people that were down there. And, he pushed these videos trying to make himself look legit. I mean, I could put Jackie Magali, if she's still alive. I've heard she's dead, but I have affidavits from her where she was the McMartin preschool mother. That was the whistleblower on the McMartin preschool that, they were taking kids through the tunnel. People were taking their kids there, and they were coming home drugged up. And her daughter, she began being suspicious about, and she blew the whistle on it, closed the place down, got everybody arrested, and then a preacher paid for the tunnel dig. And on the day, they had the cameras out there, and the TV cameras out in California, and they were digging. Ted Gunderson suddenly comes up and says, "I'm in charge," and sticks his face in front of the camera. And she says, "I don't know who you are. Get out of here." And, from that point on, he kept bugging her and trying to get into her life, and he did for a short period of time. "Oh, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you." And he was always there to try to screw things up. He actually committed tax evasion by deducting $10,000 tunnel dig off his income tax, of which he did not pay. A preacher paid it. And he poisoned her. And she turned out to have fibromyalgia, I think they call it, and she suffered with that all of her life. And as far as I know, she's still alive. Someone said she's dead. I have not tried to reach out to her just to keep her more secure, shall we say, where she wouldn't draw the heat. But I do have her affidavits on what happened. So one of these days, if I discover that she's dead here soon, I will post her affidavits up. Otherwise, Stephen, we'll put her on the air with you.
Sounds good. Sounds
Have
good.
to set the record straight. You know, the guy created a false resume, Gunderson did, when he got out of the FBI, was kicked out for holding those satanic ceremonies, because they diagnosed him as a paranoid schizophrenia. And I talked to his wife, Jocelyn, and I had 3 hours of conversations with her that were pretty extensive, where she described Ted was diagnosed in 72, or in 71. And the marriage was about ready to collapse. And so he agreed to go to the therapist. Well, then they sent him to a MD, shrink, psychiatrist, who prescribed him medication after they found out he was diagnosed as paranoid schizophrenia. Now his daughter Lori has it, his son Ted Gunderson has it, etc. And as she described it to me, she says, Stewie went off his medication for about a year. He was acting like a fruitcake as usual. And she says he comes home one night, and the girls are out by the swimming pool, her daughter, 11-year-old daughter, and her 6 of her friends, and she says he strips down naked in front of my daughter and her friends and jumps in the swimming pool and tells them to come in the pool with him. Well, she said at that point she called the girls in, shut and locked the door, and she said she took his clothes and threw him out the window and divorced him. Now, with that said, I think it's understandable if he was a mental case and diagnosed as that, and the FBI found out that he was holding satanic ceremonies in his FBI office in 79, and they put him to early retirement because he could not be in the position of as a senior special agent in charge because of what he was doing. He was really there as a cover-up in his position. They didn't want him in there, and these were his underlaymen that complained about him holding the ceremonies. And, of course, he then went to work for Daddy Bush and more sinister, deeper sinister, tied to Wackenhut, which he was involved with to begin with. So I know all about this guy. And Stephen Dinnerstein, he was a well-known Iran-Contra investigator. He checked with 50 attorney generals when Gunderson had sent a SWAT team in to try to kill me, trying to extort me for docs. He thought I had these docs that he was after to extort a public official, and I didn't have them. And Stephen got into it, and he was former DOD. He was the one that actually busted Al Martin during Iran-Contra and squeezed him, and he became the Iran-Contra whistleblower and causing the hearings. Stephen and him became good friends. I became good friends with Stephen. They poisoned him about 5 years ago and murdered him. And but as Stephen said, he says, I investigated after Gunderson screwed with you, Stu. He says, trying to run your reputation. He says, of course, he got into it, and he found out that there were 50 attorney generals around the United States that had filed complaints, getting ready to prosecute Ted Gunderson for theft from little old ladies, going in and, I'll help you, I'll protect your estate. I'm a former FBI agent, blah, 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 blah. And he was robbing and looting them. And they had 50 charges from 50 attorney generals. But how they cover it up at the U.S. Justice Department is they have one of Daddy Bush's crime syndicate assistant attorney generals will call up the attorney general of that state and say, look, we hear that you're looking at Ted Gunderson over here for stealing from, little old lady over here. We've got him in a bigger case, but we would like to have your case. We're going to do the prosecution on this, so we can't do the double jeopardy thing. So would you send your paperwork up here and just hold back on this? We're going to take care of it for you. And they'd be happy to happy to send it up because this is Fed. They're thinking they're going to bust him on a federal level, and they never did do it. So, I investigated all this crap after he tried to play a game of extortion on me. Okay? That's the reason I know all this stuff. I got a box of files on him so thick it's pathetic. But the guy's dead. If he wasn't dead, I would have sued him. Now, since I have a real attorney, and I've had that problem with attorney for a long time. I've had one threatened initially in '84 over my kid, telling me that I wasn't going to get any place, and I would end up dead, and he would end up dead, and been threatened. I had 2 Paul Wilshires dead. Another one out of Rockwell, Texas, got poisoned. Had to have a triple bypass 2 hours later because the Mossad went in and poisoned him. And Will Northrup, the Mossad. And I've had 3 others threatened and backed off. So they wouldn't touch my case. But otherwise, I would have sued him a long time ago.
Well, Stu, wow, we got some sound going on there. A little echo there, Sean. I don't know what that's all about. I want to, there's a big issue here that seems to be part of all of these things, and that is this whole business with the satanic connection with the pedophilia, human sacrifice, and the whole business with the abuse of the children. It seems to be a real common denominator with these people, these institutions that we're dealing with. And I think, when it gets down to it, it really doesn't matter who the players are, with, these people that are doing these things with these children, that ultimately it's because they're serving Satan. And, a lot of people think that, Satan is a myth and what have you. But I'll tell you, these world leaders and these Illuminati types and New World Order types, they believe it. They're certainly doing it, and whether you believe it or not doesn't make it any less real that they are doing this, and this is a major part of the recipe for what they're doing, and they feel that they're getting power from doing this.
Well, they do derive power from it, and here's what I know in the bigger picture in that area. I know that, my ex-in-law, Leonard Mellman, and I didn't know it when I was married to his daughter. I had no idea who this guy was or anything. We didn't have anything to do with him. And because of abuse, she didn't ever really get into it. But her excuse was they didn't accept you because you're not a Jew, quote unquote. Well, that wasn't what it was about, and she was aware of it. And part of it was, her mental condition that I did not know. I mean, here the graduate from Stevens and, impeccable wife, the perfect wife for the first 3 years, and then turns into Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, the child abuse, now adult syndrome. And that's what 3 shrinks told me that she was. And she'd been married 5 times, identical marriage. But the Satanist side of things, I discovered about Leonard in 1995. And not knowing what had come into my bedroom 3 weeks before my child was born in 1984. And a lot of people can't understand this unless they believe in God and understand that there is a devil and there is a God. Those that don't believe this, they have a problem with it. But I'm laying in bed and I'm asleep, 3:30 in the morning, and I got the date tied back, Stephen. Back in 1995, I kept going back, and I kept all my not diaries, but my daily schedule. And I'd written it in there that this had happened on this date, and it was June the 21st, or actually June the 21st, the night of June the 21st, and the witching hour, 12 to 3 a.m. But I'm in Dallas, Texas, and that would have been about 3:30. That would have been about 2:30 Denver time, where they do the satanic worship. And we nailed them, by the way, this past summer. With U.S. intelligence, and nailed it down and kept a kid from being tortured or murdered, as far as we know, because the police shot and killed some guy in Oklahoma who's trying to snatch an 18-month-old. It's on my website. It hit mainstream media, hit mainstream TV down there in Oklahoma City, and he said he was snatching the kid for the Illuminati sacrifice. Well, they were all on APB on this, and all the hospitals being watched, and I got that done through a friend. And so, we don't think they got it, but this was a credit to what I'd been saying, and everybody in the intelligence world knows this goes on. But I'm laying in bed, here it was in 1984, and I'm in bed, sound asleep, and it was one of these cool nights in Dallas in the upper 70s, so I hated air conditioning, and I had the screen doors or the French doors open off the bedroom, and they had screens on it, and the moonlight was pretty bright that night. You could see through the whole bedroom, and I got a fan going above the bed, and we're both there asleep, and she's 3 weeks before our kid was born, and all of a sudden I hear this bang, and then all of a sudden this thump, 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 thump coming down the hallway, and by that time I'm starting to wake up, and all of a sudden I open up my eyes, And there's the goat-headed demon Baphomet standing at the end of my bed, banging that 6-foot tail off the wall. It had horns that curled up out of its head, and this is the honest God's truth. I swear this happened. And the horns curled up out of its head. It had a square nose on it with fur all over it. It looked like a pear from the waist down. He was masturbating. It was masturbating. And it looked like it had zits or pimples or warts all over its whole body. And all I could see was the knees off the edge of the bed. The knees were just above the bed, and he was touching the ceiling, 8-foot ceiling. And I saw those knees, and I never could recognize what it was until later. And when I saw a goat one day, a picture of a goat for something, I'm going, the knees are backwards. Well, that would make sense. The goat hooved demon. And I closed my eyes. I said, in the name of Jesus and by the blood of Jesus Christ, I command you out of here now, Satan. And wham! I hear the sound of a whirlwind, and all of a sudden a big bang. And then I jumped straight up off the bed, hit my head on the ceiling fan, and hit it on the ceiling, right where a ceiling joist was. And I had 2 lumps on my head later on in the morning. And as I'm coming down on the bed, and I was naked, I bounced off the bed, and I looked back at her as I'm grabbing my pants. And I looked at her, and I said, what the hell was that? She goes, that was the devil, and she's covered with perspiration. So I flip on the light. I'm looking down the hallway, and I run for my gun, and I hid him underneath my file cabinet bottom drawer to keep him away from her, because she had chased me through the house, and that's what got her taken to the shrinks with one of the guns. And so anyway, I'm going to the front door. It's ripped off the hinges. It's ripped off the hinges laying along the wall. And the storm door, which was aluminum storm, French doors on the front, it's laying out along the garage in L-shaped ranch down there in Carrollton, Texas, north of Dallas. And I said, my God. And I slammed the door back, and a whole lot of good that did. And I went through the whole house, checking every place, garage, every place, every closet, going to shoot whatever it was. And here, I had already cast it out with the power and authority that we have to cast these demons and devils out. God says we have that power over them. And that's what people just can't understand. But I'm in 1995, after they had illegally taken my kid, and I'm in 1995, I'm down in San Antonio, Texas. And I'm having a meeting at the request of someone else. I met with an Illuminati, Knights Templar type, very high up in the organization, in the Bush family. Knew Millman very well, done business with him, quote unquote. That's when they steal and rob and loot and launder to him. And him and I sat down, and I talked about some things with him, and I told him about, I mentioned about the satanic side of things. And he was quite aware, and he would nod, and he would say yes and no, and not too informative. But when I mentioned the goat-headed demon story that I just told you about, he goes, you saw the goat and you're still alive? I said, my faith. He didn't want to talk to me anymore after that. He was on the dark side. But I had a witch in Las Vegas, this witch that happened to live a couple condos down from me. And I was telling her the story one day. And she's like, oh my God, you saw the goat and you're still alive? See, that's the power and authority that we have over him. And that's through your faith in God, in Christ. But people don't have that. There's a lot of humans down here who don't understand it. They weren't raised to understand that there's a God and there is a devil. But these people, they're on the dark side. They worship Satan, Lucifer. Here's what I've heard from people that know all about the aliens are the fallen angels. Half of the people in U.S. intelligence, that's every kind of agency that there is, half of them believe in God, the other half don't. The other half say they're atheists. They just don't believe it. Maybe that's the reason they do some of the things that they do. But they've all said basically the same thing. This is evil, Stu. This is evil. These people are very evil. Yeah, I know. I've been waking them up since about 2004 into how evil it really is. And they are aware of this, that I was not aware of, but have become privy to know in the past couple years. They claim, this is from 3 really top people, claim that there's 200,000 of them that are human, that are possessed by, quote unquote, the aliens, which are the fallen angels. And they're walking among us, and said that Millman is one of them, and Daddy Bush, and Kissinger, and Rockefeller, and Rothschild, and Grace, and Anwar ben Sharia of Israel, the head rabbi, and Pope Benedict, and Warburg, and the ones that are on the Council of 13, they call it, the 12. And then they're also saying, there's directly underneath it, they are the Illuminati bankers that are also possessed, that there's 200,000 of them among us that are possessed. They become so evil that they allow a fallen angel to possess them, or an alien, whichever you want to call it. The second part of it is that they have cloned, they have hybrided, meaning they have mated with humans, and there's 20 million of them that I believe that are the Nephilim bloodline. It speaks in the book of Revelation, or the book of Genesis, where it says that the fallen angels mate with humans. They find them fun, the women, and they mate with them, and they have these Nephilim bloodline offbreed. And I've been told there's 20 million of them in top levels of government and corporations, etc., running this stuff for them. It's part of their agenda, of their, quote unquote, their New World Order. And they want Jerusalem as their capital, which fits in with the book of Revelations, if you were to go into there, about how that the Antichrist, the devil, will rule in the last days, during the Great Tribulation. He will rule from Jerusalem. And so that's what their agenda is. But it doesn't have to be. We as humans can put a stop to it, and we can have a human race. So when people, these evangelical nutcases out here, I call them, the so-called Christians, many of them are nutcases, they're praying for Jesus' return, and they're praying for this, and they're praying for that. You don't want to be praying for that, I don't think. You ought to be praying against them and asking God to destroy this evil, instead of praying that God to come in the world and destroy mankind and all the evil on it. And there's not going to be any big rapture that so many of them believe in, and they're going to be a special 200,000 are going to be raptured. Well, if you believe that, you bit the big carrot, because if there's 1 million preachers in America and you believe your preacher's correct, where does that leave you if there's only 200,000? So, there's a lot of this Zionist propaganda that they have pumped into the minds of many that are God-believing people. And I say, the best way to find out whether it's true or not is get on your hands and knees and ask God if you believe in Him. Get on your hands and knees and talk to Him, and He'll talk back. He'll show you He does that. So, but these are evil entities. These are evil people that are in control, and they're in control of our government. I mean, you've got the APEC boys, which is Mizell and Millman running APEC, and they're directors of APEC. And, they're the ones that committed all this espionage and all this theft, along with the Bush family. And they're all generational Satanists.
Yeah, I'll tell you though, it's pretty frustrating dealing with the Christian Zionists. They just don't listen to logic. But I'll tell you though, when it comes to people that are on the dark side, there's so much of it. I mean, I'm looking in the chat room and I see a lot of it going on right now. But I'll tell you, people come to me, especially these people who are the so-called targeted individuals, and I try to give them advice of how to deal with it, and basically, whether they want to hear it or not, the best defense is Jesus, of course. And I know people, they don't like to hear that, but I think you demonstrated that very well with your incident in the bedroom right there. One thing though that a lot of people are complaining about. Well, let me just say one thing real quick. I do believe, that there's a lot of aliens out there, and certainly there's, and I believe that from a political standpoint, it's divided into two sides: the service to self and the service to others. And I would say that the service to others side is strictly Luciferian, serving the dark side. Those are your fallen angels. But I do believe there are also entities out there, not necessarily aliens or not necessarily angels per se, but humanoids, not of this earth, who I would like to think are not fallen angels, who could be considered the good guys. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, that's reasonable. Steve, it says in Psalms 91 and 92, 93 right in there, it talks about if you ask for angels of protection, God to give them to you. I believe there are angels. Now, if you go back in the book of Genesis, it says in the beginning, there was a battle in heaven, and there were an estimated 1 million angels, and 1/3 was cast down here, which is about 333,000 of them. And this would make sense in where they're saying, U.S. intelligence is saying that there's 200,000 that are possessed by these entities. So that would fit in. So that leaves 2/3. That means we got, roughly 666,000 good angels of God. Okay. Doesn't mean they're flying around flying saucers, because they don't need flying saucers. Don't need all that. It's become obvious that in the dark world that many of these entities do need it. They're half-breeds and other things. And I think Dr. Preston James has touched on this. He's an author on Veterans Today. But if you go in and put in Preston James, or go to my website, it's down on the right side, and put in Preston James and click on his. He's really been touching on. He's a psychologist, and he's really been touching on the subjects, and he has a lot of sources, same sources I have. We've known each other since back around 91, a whole group of us, and but he's done some excellent work on this half-breed, which is the fallen angels mating with humans, and but I don't agree totally that these and I don't do it because I believe that all the ones that everybody's chasing these aliens and all the other, they're bad entities, and the good entities are invisible, and we have so many of them that protect us and protect the human race. That's what we're about. And remember, we're above these angels. We can command these angels. We can cast them out of people. We can cast them out of our rooms. We can cast them away from us. We have that power and authority, and God gave us that power and authority, and people could understand that.
I agree.
I want to throw something at you, and I don't want to sound like a preacher, but I mean, it does dovetail into what we're talking about. But, this targeted individual thing suddenly come up again. And these are, I'm aware that there's one of Gunderson's stooges, Tim White, is involved in this. And he was hired by the FBI after Al Martin threw him in a jail cell, the Iran-Contra whistleblower, for trying to extort me and Al Martin both. And he nailed him on drugs, and he was facing 5 years in prison. And the FBI, after sitting there for 6 months, let him out with the agreement he would have to act as a snitch for them, and he gets like $20 or $25 an hour playing snitch off of an FBI agent named Mark Holslaw in Denver that was originally assigned to my grand jury to investigate and other things that a judge ordered back in 1995. And then they threw the ball on it and nearly killed me and Al Martin both, and anthraxed me and hit Al Martin with anthrax, threw him in a jail cell and threw me in a jail cell, and we both nearly died. But he's a stooge. And he's one of those that are pushing this targeted individual stuff. And it's ironic that you brought this up, but I had 2 phone calls from a couple people claiming to be this targeted individual crap here no more than in the past month to 6 weeks. Now, you got to get involved, Stu. I'm not interested in getting involved, and here's why. Everybody is a target. It isn't some specific group. What they're trying to do is they're trying to control things right now on people being targeted because of the spy thing. And I find it ironic that after I put out, and then Gordon Duff turns around, I didn't even know he did this, but less than a week later, he put on Mike Harris's program about being targeted. They can target you now with this new Utah base up in Bluffdale, this new NSA base. It has an alien base right next door to it that runs from the Bluffdale, Utah, all the way down southeast to Richfield, Utah, north of I-70. They were digging this thing out in the mid-90s. As a matter of fact, I saw gravel trucks going to Las Vegas 2 or 3 times from Colorado, and you could see all this massive gravel trucks and the whole 9 yards coming out of there, and I started asking questions, and people told me they were building that. That's new Area 52, S4. And this is tied in with this new Utah base that was blown out 2 years ago by the real whistleblower at the NSA that came public, and I have it up on my site, and it's one of my it's in the link that about the that I was on Press TV. There's a link in there off of it. It's in the middle column at the top. People can look at it and read the story. And it was about whistleblowers of the past reporting, because in 2006 I even reported that they were able to control and manipulate the stock market, the NSA was, and the cabal, and the whole bit because of information I got. A month later, I think it was Tice, one of the NSA whistleblowers, he came forward and blew out something about the NSA and their spying with Echelon and the different stuff. So Snowden wasn't anything new. But I found out, and where Gordon Duff and I both had discussed less than a week apart, was the fact that they're able to control people through their TVs, through their internet connections, through their cell phones, or their ground lines. And so we've come to a day to where they can actually make you a Manchurian candidate. You are targeted. Everybody's targeted. There isn't anybody that's specific, I'm running around, I've been targeted. Yeah, there's people who have been targeted in the past. I've been a target for years. But where they're targeting, they're trying to control this, control the opposition. And I know that's going on. So watch those calls, and you're right. Tell them to get God and start praying, because it's the best thing for everybody besides coming together and trying to put a halt to all this. But the Naval Yard shooting that went on here a few months back, that was retaliation by AIPAC against our government for stopping the war in Syria and putting a halt to the future war in Iran, with peace with Iran. And we still have this AIPAC opposition inside the U.S. Senate, inside the Congress, on behalf of the Bushes, on behalf of Millman and Mizell that control AIPAC with Norman Brownstein. Millman's and Daddy Bush's attorney that's also AIPAC director. And they're doing everything they can to create this war, because this is their agenda. They got to have World War III so they can run the world from Jerusalem. And this is what the key is. And I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to pull their garbage off. They got too much resistance now. But you have these individuals, the Naval Yard shooter that was controlled through electronics. And they know it was through his TV, through his computer, and through his cell phone. And they were able to mind screw him to where he went off and became a shooter and a killer. So,
okay, what about the story that the victims of that incident were the same high-ranking individuals that would have been involved in the arresting of Obama?
No, that's all bogus crap. All bogus. All bogus. It was Israel's retaliation against the United States military for its intervention in the Syrian incident, where Israel and a bunch of stooges inside our own government, including Barack Obama and John Kerry, Secretary of State, said that the Syrian government shot their own people with sarin gas. Well, that wasn't the case. U.S. Intelligence, military intelligence, matter of fact, even Gordon Duff put out the videos on Veterans Today showing that it was Al-Qaeda. That's Daddy Bush's privatized army did it. And so that's the reason that was all shut down. And General Dempsey stepped in. And they wanted, Susan Rice wanted, and Valerie Jarrett, two AIPAC stooges, wanted to create war that night. And General Dempsey said, no, you can't do it, Mr. President. We can't attack. We'll be destroyed. You're going to have to regroup, and you're going to have to go before the Congress and Senate. Well, that gave them time to prove to Obama that it was the rebels that had done it to their people instead of the Syrian government. And, all of a sudden you're hearing this hype. Syria, in the past 2 days, Syria didn't get rid of its chemical weapons as planned. They didn't get rid of Nobody's ever disposed of the amount of chemical weapons they hold or we hold or anybody else. And Russia's agreed to do this, and they're in the process of doing it. It might take a little bit more time. So let it happen. They've agreed to turn them over because they don't want to use them against anybody.
Hey, Stu, what do you think about this reemergence of Jeb Bush being the front runner for the GOP in the next election?
Daddy Bush again. It's put the drug dealer Jeb Bush, the killer Jeb Bush, the money launderer Jeb Bush. He's one of the biggest drug lords on the entire planet, along with Ollie North. If you go down there and investigate Pier 66 in Miami, you'll find a submarine comes in there once a week packed with cocaine on ice, and that's a Ollie North submarine. Ollie North's a killer. And, Gene Chip Tatum worked for Ollie North. He was his boss. And Ollie North and Jeb Bush are hand in hand in crime. And Gene Tatum worked for Ollie North. His boss back during the 1980s was Ollie North and George Herbert Walker Bush, then Vice President of the United States. And Tatum can tell you all about it. But Jeb Bush is filthy. He's up to his eyeballs. He's murdered a lot of people. He was even supplying the drugs over to the subdivisions to Charles Keating with his partner that was one of the largest landscape contractors. He got a lot of state work down there. I don't remember his name right now, but they used to haul palm trees from southern Florida in semi trucks packed with cocaine on ice and other stuff. They would take them to the Continental Homes subdivision over in Phoenix, Arizona. As far as I know, it's still going on.
Do you think that Jeb really has a chance? I know they say that the pendulum swings one way and then swings the other.
I don't think the Bush cabal, based on what I know and what U.S. intelligence has told me, and it read this way, it was 16 different intelligence agencies in our country. That's every one of our agencies. Combine a report, and I don't know how often it is, but the one that came out in September, handed to the president around the 1st of October, read this way. And it was read to me, parts of it, by 3 different people that were able to read that report. It said that the Bush family, George Herbert Walker Bush, Jeb Bush, Neil Bush, George W. Bush, Marvin Bush, and Walter Bush, that ran Walter Bush Securities across from Charles Keating and General John Singlaub, which was Gunderson's handler for a while at the last, when drugs, that Walter Bush, including Leonard Millman, Larry Mizell, the bank bailout scamsters, and my ex-in-law, Mizell and his sidekick, Leonard Millman and Mizell, his sidekick, Norman Brownstein, Bibi Netanyahu, Bill and Hillary Clinton, among others, were tied to the Jonathan Pollard spy ring that set back America by 10 to 15, maybe even up to 20 years in its nuclear codes and capabilities in the Middle East and through Russia, put us in a very serious crack for a long time. That's the reason they'll never let him out. You will hear Hillary Clinton continually trying to mention, he should be let loose, because she's a Zionist pig. She's a killer. And you'll hear Bibi Netanyahu making trips to see him to try to get him out, putting political pressure. He's never coming out of there. He committed espionage at the highest order. He should have been taken out and shot or hung or put to death instead of keeping him in prison the rest of his life. But it also said in this report last October, it said that they have committed treason and sedition at the highest order, that they have been involved in every financial scandal since the early 1980s, including breaking the savings and loans, the junk bond daisy chain game that was in the billions. It was almost 1.5 trillion of the savings and loans, that they have been involved in security fraud, ripping off investors, stealing from little old ladies, doing the whole 9 yards. The list went on and on and on, including the current bank bailout of 2008, creating mortgages on houses that didn't exist and derivatizing them and selling them in the bond world and the whole bit, and that they were further behind the Oklahoma City bombing to cover up and obstruct justice pertaining to Mena, Arkansas, and the guns and drugs, Iran-Contra, HUD records, savings and loan records, and others was the reason they blew the building up, and at the time, to control the opposition, which was a lot of patriot movement back at that time, which they were using the Southern Poverty Law Center, Morris Dees that they named in there, along with APEC and other groups, the ADL they mentioned in there, and that's Abe Foxman that was the Iran-Contra paymaster to the Israelis, and to Michael Hariri that is now the head of the Mossad, which he was mentioned in the report. And it said further that Michael Hariri admitted to U.S. intelligence that he was behind the 9/11 attack in America, and that they know that all these intertwining names were behind the attack on America on the day of 9/11 and has committed all this espionage. Well, if our intelligence, 16 different intelligence agencies, know about this, and they combined a report on this, and it read along those lines, which I haven't been privy to read it, but I was told by people who have read it, then that tells me that our government knows, our intelligence world knows who the people are that have run this country. And these were the names I just said. So, with that said, I don't think Bill or Hillary Clinton, and I don't think Jeb Bush, unless you and I and everybody else allows this country to take its final leg in the next 11 months, because we have 11 months to put a stop to it, and that's going to probably be it. Then the drones are going to start flying. People are going to become dust in their sidewalk. And
break time. All right, we'll be right back, folks. Stick with us and don't go away, and call in at the next hour. Thank you.
Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message. The finder of lost children and missing persons. Monique Lassan. Surveillance civil and criminal investigations. I investigate.
You know, I am the chosen one.
Do not underestimate the power of good, and do not dismiss the strength of the child.
Yes, every Wednesday evening on Revolution Radio, come join our very own I-Investigatrix, Monique Lassan, with her private I-X-Files.
So you're the finder of lost children?
Private I-X-Files, every Wednesday from 10 to midnight Eastern, Studio B, on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
I realize it's very hard for you to take in. What is your destiny to find the golden child?
Listen in to Journeys with JP, Tuesdays on Revolution Radio at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, with a variety of guests, each giving their unique perspective on their journey through to the now. Journeys offers you, the listener, a chance to share that perspective. Join me, JP, on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Revolution Radio, simulcast with Wolf Spirit Radio.
Every Tuesday evening on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, we present our goddess spiritual warrior, Kathy Bilski.
I command. I call to the architect of the universe's divine creators and ask for permission to quantum leap the world in all life forms on all planes and dimensions, seen and unseen, connected with planet Earth, to let us go beyond our known potential into the greatest unknown golden age the universes and worlds and all planets have ever experienced.
Kathy teaches the spiritual truth so that you may create a better life and be able to make positive changes for yourself and for the planet. She helps us remember that we are not powerless, but very creative spiritual beings having an Earth experience. Time to quantum leap into the age of divine enlightenment and let Kathy provide you with the tools of knowledge you need to awaken spiritually. That's the Quantum Leap Show. Let Light Unite every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern on Revolution Radio, Studio B.
Enter into a world unseen on Raven Star's Witching Hour. You will encounter eclectic topics from the realm of spirit brought into our matrix of truth. With your host, the Solaris Blue Raven. Solaris will bring you an array of unique guests covering topics from ghostly spirits to amazing anomalies, covert technology, UFOs, and shadowy global events.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Saturdays, midnight till 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Let the magic rise.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
No, how dare you?
No, how dare you?
How dare you? No, my how dare you?
You dare condemn me?
How dare you? How dare me when I how dare you? You big idiot.
Hello all. Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. We are the #1 public access commercial-free internet talk radio station on the web, with between 12 and 16 hours of live programming per day, bringing you news, politics, entertainment, and just plain human interactive talks, which are extremely informative and successful nightly open caller roundtables. And how do we do this? Through the support of volunteers and donations from good listeners like you. So if you're digging what you hear, and we are bringing you an entertaining and informative service, please visit our site support page and donate to the cause. Keep us live, keep us kicking, help us bring you the talk. We are already here. Help keep us here. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Revolution Radio!
Down the flasher!
Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
All right. Okay. I forgot to mute my microphone. I was hacking up a lung over here. I don't know if you guys could hear that or not over the sound. I apologize. I want to say one thing real quick. I made a comment earlier in the show that we have a million listeners, and I'm not saying that we have a million people listening to the show. For those that took issue with that comment, basically I'm saying that Revolution Radio as a whole averages a good million listeners on as a whole. So, but again, when we do pick up the iHeartRadio, and we are connected to Live 365, which has certainly boosted our numbers. But when we are connected to iHeartRadio, hopefully within the next 6 months, we're going to pick up a good 2 million other listeners. So we'll have access to a good 3 million potential listeners. Whether or not they all tune in at one time, we certainly would like to hope that happens, but no, for people who are challenging that, you know, come on, you guys, jeez, it's picking the fly poop out of the pepper here. Anyway, I want to remind everybody that we are listener supported radio. We do depend on your donations. Please go to our site support page and give us what you can. And I'll tell you, for as many people as we do have listening, I mean, we're in the hundreds of thousands. We do average several 100,000 a day, and we'd certainly like to have a few more people get involved with helping us out. And I guess you guys may not realize it, but a lot of our funds are actually coming from our hosts here, who are very generous in supporting the station. So we'd like to try to get more of you to help us out. And that'll certainly help us to grow, because, if we did have more funds, we could certainly reach out into different directions that would allow us to reach more listeners. So the money that you do donate is helping to spread the truth, and you are doing a very good service for yourself, obviously, to keep the truth coming, but to certainly to help wake up more people. And it's an ongoing battle. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are still asleep, that are doing the best they can. I'm losing my voice. I'm sorry. Anyway, we're hopefully, we have Stu Webb with us, and Chip Tatum is hopefully going to be joining us very soon. And I want to open up the phone lines. Anybody that would like to join us is welcome to call in anytime as of right now. And the call-in number is area code 347-688-2902. And you can also use the Skype name, which is Freedom Screen. So, my drugs that I'm on, people are asking me what kind of drugs I'm on. I can't even pronounce the name of the silly thing, but I took a heavy dose here before the show, so I'm not hacking throughout this show and blowing my nose. But if I mute my microphone, it's because I've got to do that. Anyway. All right, Stu, you still with us?
I am with you.
All right. Okay, we got a lot of questions starting to come in here from the chat, and let's see if we can wade through some of these things. Oh, my gosh. I know you've been looking at these things.
I see one here about the asteroids. You know,
yeah.
Back in December, it says the question was for Stu, can you give an update on why the asteroids or comets that you said were going to hit the Earth did not? I did say they were going to hit the Earth. I also reported, if anybody watched my site, that U.S. intelligence, our military, put up their flying saucers. They went and attached a solar sail to both of those asteroids. And one was Comet Izon because it tumbles, an asteroid tumbles as it's coming in. It was projected to hit Earth. So was the other one, its sister. Its sister passed the Earth at 25,000 miles out between the moon and Earth. I also posted on that. It was as a result of they call it a solar sail. It's like a big parachute that they actually drilled in, made an attachment on the thing, and was able to divert it. And an asteroid did hit, and I never posted it up. I was told not to. I can talk about it now, but about 8 weeks ago, an asteroid hit one of the military satellites that was being used by the National Security Agency to spy on everybody, divert their phone calls through there, back to their server, back to whoever it is, Horizon, Sprint, or whoever you've got as your phone company. And for 4 hours, phones were down all over the United States, and this was a couple months ago. So if you lost your phone service for those 4 hours, you were one of the ones they were diverting through there. But it did hit it, and that was 23,580 miles or something like that out. We have a huge belt coming at us, an asteroid belt, comet belt. It is due in March, and I put that in that report too back in November when I put up there that they were expecting it to hit. And they were able to divert this. And matter of fact, during that diversion, Russia sent up 2 nukes and hit it with nukes, and it couldn't do anything. It didn't move it. And that's the reason they went and put the solar sails on it. With that said, watch out for March, because this is the big time. And I'm not into predictions, and I'm not going to put predictions out. But in March, there is this huge belt that we're going into, and it's going to be enormous. And I'll leave it at that. So.
Okay, I got another question.
I would still stock up with food and water and be prepared for electricity to be down and different things in the month of March. Now we're only a couple of weeks away from this belt coming at us is what my understanding is. The big show and the big light will be there on my site underneath the breaking news column. If you're on your iPhone, just scroll down under breaking news and it's right there. I believe it's the left column there. And it says the American Meteorology Society. It has NASA there. Make your reports so you see a fireball. I mean, we've seen some all over. We saw them here about 4 or 6 weeks ago here in the Midwest over Iowa. And it was very bright here in Kansas City. A highway patrolman on the other side of the state line here in Kansas was coming up 69 highway over in Overland Park and had it on his camera. So fireballs, you're going to see a lot of them. But up on the AMS site, that's where people can report, because the government's not going to tell you. They did on Thanksgiving evening about Izon, how it was passing Earth on Thanksgiving night and was heading towards the sun and supposedly skimmed the sun's surface. And, if it was a chunk of ice, it would have melted, but it didn't. It broke up and it swung back around, and they know that big chunks of it are out there. But the universities are under top secret. These professors that run these telescopes have sworn to secrecy on this with Q clearances they had to have because they're mapping these things. It's enormous what's coming at us in March. And with that said, I can't tell you anymore.
Yeah. Okay. I got another question. One of our listeners in Seoul, Korea, has asked if you would talk to us a little bit about all of the high-ranking military generals that have been getting relieved by Obama. And I think we all know the answer, but we'd like you to talk about that.
They're all dirty. They would answer to the AIPAC crowd, this espionage organization, the Israelis connected with Bibi Netanyahu and Milman and Meisel, and they answer to Daddy Bush. And Daddy Bush is really the control boss with them. He still gives the orders. They do the blackmail, but they are the ones that are in control, all three of them, basically, Milman, Meisel, and Bush. And these generals that have been relieved of duty, there's been more than people know about, more than what has been reported in the press. Colonels, captains, all layers of the military were not answering in the chain of command. Matter of fact, there was a whole fleet, or not a fleet, but I forgot what they call it, of B-2s, these brand new bombers, the stealth bomber. There was a whole fleet of them, or 22 or 24 of them, that disappeared at the time that they were promoting this war with Syria, with the Zionist pig, the Secretary of State, John Kerry, and trying to get Barack Obama stooged. Well, Barack Obama's been set straight by good guys in the military. I give credit to General Dempsey, and I give credit to Chuck Hagel, the Secretary of Defense, who made the statement when he was a senator from Nebraska, U.S. senator. He said, "I am not an Israeli senator. I am a U.S. senator." And he sat there and said it on the mic on the U.S. Senate floor. So with that said, he's very patriotic, both of them, and they're cleaning house. And there's more than that. There's an undercurrent. I can't get into it. I can't discuss it and won't jeopardize it, but it's more than that. We have a new FBI director. You've seen the resignation of that treasonous witch, Rochelle Bachmann, who was sold out to Israel, that kisses its rear end, and Bibi Netanyahu, that has committed espionage as a U.S. Congresswoman. She was told last year to step down, make an announcement immediately that you will not run again for office, or you're going over to Leavenworth right now. We're arresting you. She made the announcement. They could do that with almost every congressman and senator. If they did that and they really arrested them all for what they have on them, it would collapse the United States government. We can't have that done. So instead, you've seen removals. You're seeing announcements. You saw it about 2-3 weeks ago, 3 more. Made the announcement they're no longer going to run. Tim Griffin of Arkansas, that's another Bush stooge, he made the announcement he will not be running again. Just here in the past 2 days, you've heard another announcement, 2 of them. One of them, he's facing indictment. He's an Israeli stooge. He's facing indictments for corruption and bribes from the same crowd. And he made an announcement. He's resigning in 2 weeks. This other one here in the past couple of days made the announcement he's not going to run. You're going to see this continually. And at the same time, you see the Bush boys fighting back because they're losing control. And they've got these stooges out here doing this spring uprising. Oh, join us. We're an ex-general. We're an ex-colonel. Oh, join us. We're going to arrest Barack Obama. Or we can go back to where the truck drivers got stooged by a bunch of people and their money stolen for their gas, that raised funds for them and all that. And they got stooged. But the spring uprising that's coming is nothing but Daddy Bush crowd. So ignore it. You know, it's being pushed by the Israeli segment, and it comes back to these are the same people that have ruined your country, stolen your economy, 80% of the economy back in 1981, you and I, Stephen, and everybody else were controlling. Today, they've got 97% of the U.S. economy. They only controlled 20% in 81, and today they got 97%. They own almost every business in America. And we're all screwed. And if we just did the clawback, we could take all the money they've hijacked, stolen, and looted and robbed. It's been narcotic sales, which is a reason to confiscate it under U.S. laws. The Barclay-Cohen Indenture Act, which is treason. That's a reason to confiscate everything they got. They stole from the federal government. That falls under the False Claims Act. That's a reason to take everything they've got. Plus, they've brought in narcotics, which is another reason to take everything they've got. Now, we're talking about trillions upon hundreds of trillions of dollars. Daddy Bush worth $100 trillion. Millman's worth $100 trillion. Meisel's worth $40 trillion. And the list goes on with these people. Kissinger's up around $100 trillion. Rockefeller, Rothschild, and the others are up around $100 trillion each. And I know where Millman buried most of his money right here in real estate in the United States. They're the largest landlord of apartments with 500,000 apartment units. And they've got these high-rises and these shopping centers. They own Mall of America, largest shopping mall owner in Canada and the U.S. And they buried it in your local little shops on each street corner. And they've taken over all the corporations. If we took all that back and clawed it back, put it in the U.S. Treasury, allowed everybody who was robbed and looted and stolen with their pension funds and their security frauds that they pulled off on them, clear back to all the way back to 1981, there would still be 2/3 of that money, those hundreds of trillions of dollars, could be divided up among the states, and there would be no income tax for 10 years on all 50 states. And there would be so much money left over, we could have all brand new roads in America and all the other stuff, and there wouldn't be any problem with homeless and with people getting re-educated and the other things. But that's what needs to be done. And the only way we're going to come to get there is the American people need to rise and do something. And I've suggested this, and I fall along the lines of what Bruce Campbell has to say with the American Defense Party. He's a former mercenary. You'll have to put him on your show some night. And Bruce says, get in the neighborhoods. Get your civilian, your neighborhood crime watch set up. Watch each other's back. Educate your neighbors to how bad it is. And you say, well, we've already got a crime watch. No, you've got a crime watch of stooges out there, 6 to 8 in every neighborhood in America, almost on every other block. And they're reporting to the local police on their neighbors, playing snitch. You need to infiltrate that. You need to get in among your neighbors and tell your neighbors, look, listen to the Stephen Kelley Show. Go to the Stu website. Go to Veterans Today, where you can get the truth and this sort of thing, and educate them. All of a sudden, you've got those couch potatoes that don't ever get on the Internet, have no idea what's going on. All of a sudden, they're beginning to question things. You're infiltrating it that way. You're breaking it up at the lower level. You get in there also and set up civilian police oversight committees, where the police, you go to your city council and you demand that, in case the cops get out of control, beat somebody up, or they illegally ticket somebody even, illegally arrest somebody, illegally accuse somebody in behalf of your federal government because they're a targeted person, say, then what you've got is the right to investigate that as the police civilian citizens oversight committee. And as a result of that, you'd have the power and authority to get that cop immediately fired, prosecuted, and put in jail. That breaks up the crime syndicate that they have organized over the past 20 years by implanting these people inside the police departments and the intelligence divisions and so forth. It puts a halt to that. And if the city council doesn't go along with it, or anyone doesn't, you have the recallpetitions.com, of which I started with Victor Head. There's been 3 congressmen removed from office in Colorado in the past 6 months that were gun nuts. They wanted to take their guns. That put a halt to them. All 3 of them are out of office now. It works. The form's up there to do it with. The video's up there how to do it. Go register with the Secretary of State, get the proper signatures, do the recall. And then get somebody over here on the side that's a patriot to be involved in that next election as you're recalling somebody. They personally cannot be if they're doing the recall. So you need to set somebody on the sidelines that make a good senator or congressman. Now, if everybody targeted all U.S. congressmen and all U.S. senators right now, we could have a cleanup done in the next 11 months.
Hey, Stu. Last week, a couple of people said something that I thought was pretty great, but they said that they'd love to hear you do a State of the Union address.
State of the Union address.
State of the Union. Well, we know we.
I don't think Nighthawk would like to hear it either. My State of the Union would be get a semi truck, put handcuffs, strap them to the walls or on the inside, and put a guillotine on the back end and call it Office of Criminal Roundup and go to the Capitol.
I'll tell you something. The other day I saw this thing on Facebook about Antonin Scalia coming out and saying that everybody needs to get used to the idea of internment camps coming back. Obviously, he was referring to the FEMA camps. And when I saw that, I basically said all three branches need to be hanged. And I know darn well that that's really making me popular with these guys, and I'll tell you, I must have everything you post on Facebook is recorded by these guys, and then I must have a couple feet thick of stuff that they're going to be throwing at me one of these days. People are asking about the rigged elections. What do you think about that? What do you think about what Obama's doing? Oh, and people are asking about...
Obama's shocking me because he's actually turning the other way against them. And he's actually getting what they call religion, and he has since the Stooge game was played on him with the Syrian-Iran war, and he's realizing that the neocons that are surrounding him have been lying to him, and that he has done nothing during his presidency except play stooge to Daddy Bush. He has filled his pockets. Everybody knows that. They know that he's about worth $3.5 billion more as a result of what he has done illegally. And that's no secret. But at the same time, he is beginning to listen to good advisors, those that are part of this undercurrent and others that are trying to change and clean up America and get rid of all this espionage and all this control and trying to get the government back in the hands of the people. So, Barack Obama is actually twisting and turning, which is surprising. And we're going to see a lot of indictments in the future this year of a lot of these bankster types and that. I'm going to leave it at that, okay? There's things happening. So I'm not going to, I don't like the guy, quite frankly, Stephen. And you can't take somebody that's already played the stooge game and turn him without having something very, very sinister on him that could land him in Leavenworth. Okay?
Well, what about the whole Muslim Brotherhood connection?
That's all bogus. This has been hyped up by this. It comes back to this AIPAC Israeli stranglehold with the Jewish mob here in America over this country with Daddy Bush. And it's all hyped up. Al-Qaeda is nothing but Daddy Bush's private army and Bibi Netanyahu's private army of a bunch of terrorists that they are out there, in Syria, as an example, the Al-Qaeda connection. And who was the senator, the Israeli U.S. senator that went over there and met with them here 6 months ago? John McCain. Yeah. I mean, wasn't it Al-Qaeda that supposedly attacked America on the day of 9/11? Wasn't that the big story? The boogeyman, bin Laden, who was dead in 2002, that they kept alive until conveniently needed to say that they got him to help Barack Obama's reputation. But they kept him alive all those years. Al-Qaeda is nothing but a privatized army of Daddy Bushes. And who's paying these people? Saudi Arabia, which is part of the Jewish, they are not Arabs. They are many of them are claimed to be Jews. They're Daddy Bush's partners. They're funding this whole Al-Qaeda operation in Syria. They're using Muslims, kids, who their parents, and their wives, and their father, their mothers, their kids, their wives, etc., were killed in Iraq or killed in Afghanistan. They're willing to hire these people, give them $2,000 down, send them over here to America and make sure that they got $1,000 or $2,000 in their pocket a month, and stick them in a mosque, which they're doing now, to create more terror in America. And U.S. intelligence knows this. They're planning on hitting shopping malls, sporting events, and other stuff. But this is Daddy Bush once again. And it is the Israelis once again. People have to understand this. Muslim Brotherhood basically doesn't exist.
Okay.
Who promotes this? The biggest one promoting this. Fox News. Who's Fox News? Rupert Murdoch owns 9 out of 10 newspapers in America and TV stations. Rupert Murdoch is Mega Mossad, Israeli Mega Mossad. Who financed and proffered up Rupert Murdoch? Leonard Millman.
Hey, Stu.
Yes.
I'm doing my best to stick with you. My medications are starting to wear off here a little bit, but I want to. You know, people are talking about somebody asked you who's a bigger threat, the Bush or the Vatican. And, you know, we talk about the Vatican, everybody talks about the Vatican, and they talk about the Jesuits. But I'm of the opinion that back in the Middle Ages that the Jesuits were actually created by, I don't want to say Zionist, but Jewish infiltration of the Catholic Church. Is that, would you say that's fair? And I guess the Jesuits also...
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. If you really look back in history and you go back to what was called the Knights Templars, which was a Christian sect that got infiltrated by the bad side at the time of Christ's death, okay? And look at what they came from at that point on. It was an evil organization. It wasn't a bunch of Christians in the defense of Christ. Matter of fact, they were many of the ones that were charging passage and stuff to Israel with the Khazarians out of the north, which was up in lower Russia. So if you do a little history there, you'll find that out. But they were the ones that infiltrated, and they're the ones that actually pushed for the formation of the Catholic Church. Why? Controlled religion. What do you need a church for? If you need to talk to God, you get on your hands and knees. Do you need to go to a Paul Pagoon and say, oh, pray for me, Paul Pagoon? And the Paul Pagoon says, sure. Oh, leave a check on the way out the door, and God might bless you, and you might be one of the 144,000 raptured. And if you don't leave a check, God's not going to answer your prayer. What a scam.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, Stu. Well, we got a caller, but before we take the caller, 914, hopefully Chip's going to join us. But listen, Major Tom has a show directly after us, and I'd like to invite you to stick around and join me on Major Tom's show if you're able to, and if Chip comes along, certainly we'd like to get him involved too.
Well, Gene should be here in just a minute. He said if he wasn't back straight up the hour, he'd be at the bottom of the hour for sure. So about 5
Okay,
minutes.
we'll let him know that when my show's over that we can carry this on into the next show, because Major Tom said he'd like to have you.
You mention it to him on the air. We'll mention it here when he gets on with us, and I believe that he'll probably do that.
Okay, caller, area code 914. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Bobby.
Bobby.
New York.
You going to be a good boy, Bobby?
I'm going to be a good boy. I'm not going to say this a certain name.
All right, don't say that name.
Okay. And I love your show.
Thank you.
And I love Gene Chip Tatum. Okay. And like I said last week, I love a lot of things Stu says until he gets to a certain point. The one thing, and then I'll hang up. I'm a total gentleman. If someone's going to bring up knucklehead, dopey stuff someone's ex-wife said, I'm sure your ex-wife might say some kooky stuff. For you to tell callers they can't bring up a certain topic, and then Stu goes on for another 10 minutes with all this information.
Okay. Bobby,
that's just rough. It's rough. Let the guy rest in peace.
Bobby, whoever you are, let me do this. I'm going to put up in the next 2 or 3 days, I'm going to put up that entire recorded conversation with Rosalind Gunderson. And then that will set everything straight once and for all. Is that agreed, Bobby?
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to fight with you. What recorded conversation are you talking
permission
about?
from her to do that. I'm going to put up the entire conversation.
What is what? Why are we bringing up ex-wives? Why are we being so, I don't know, so low class? Let the guy rest in peace.
Let's go in a different direction. Okay?
Why is it that only a handful of people out here are running to the defense of a slimeball named Ted Gunderson?
Here we go again. We're not supposed to mention his name. He's got a lot of other good things to say, Stu. Let him focus on the other stuff. When you say no, Ted Gunderson stuff, could we also can we also have the guest Stu go along with the same rules the callers are and stop bashing Ted Gunderson? I said his name. Can we just move on? Because after the show last week, I'm looking on the internet. He puts more stuff.
All right, Bobby, sorry about that.
Bobby, the only people that seem to be running to his defense are his former FBI team that he was all associated with. Are you one of them?
All right. Well, listen, we certainly appreciate Bobby's call, but
statement. I'm going to get permission from Jocelyn because I recorded the conversation, which I had the legal right to record a conversation in my state, and she was in her state, and I have that legal right. But I'm going to verify with her it's okay because she never liked her husband at all, believe me. And I think it would be okay to set the record straight once and for all. So I'm going to make a call to her in the next couple of days, and then I'm going to find that recording, which I do have on my computer, and I'm going to put that recording up with her permission, okay? And that will set the record straight on what the ex-wife says. And Bobby, go contact my ex-wife. I would love to see what she has to say because she attempted murder and obstruction of justice, and Carol Lamb indicted her for kidnapping, and she was fired over it, and it was sealed under national security. So I'd love for you to go do that as well. Be happy to bring that out, because that's coming out anyway this year.
Hey, Sean, Steve Travesty would like to join us. Could you bring him in, please?
Yeah, sure thing. Thank
you. All right, Stu, let's leave let's leave that issue gone. Oh my gosh. Remember, people, we'd love to have you join us. Area code 347-688-2902. We've only got about less than 30 minutes left in this show, so you got plenty of time to call in, and we'd love to have you do that. Oh, okay. Looks like we may have Steve with us. Is he? You got him there, Sean? Okay.
We got to exchange contacts. Just a second.
Okay. Well, I know Steve was wanting to ask about the rigged elections. I think that was his issue, and we tried to address that, but we didn't really cover it too well. I was hoping that he could ask that question himself.
Well, let me touch on that. What I'm aware of, and I have a tape in one of these articles that I did about that, where I did an interview with Kerry Cassidy about the octopus, which involved the Gunderson crowd. And what it was is Michael Riconosciuto had developed from the stolen Inslaw software, which is the prosecutor software that Ed Meese covered it all up. And they had hearings, congressional hearings, and said it was the most egregious crime that they had done against the Hamilton family, agreeing to pay $200 million for the software and a hard drive. And it was designed to track white-collar crime, where if Millman was stealing money over here at one SNL, then, another U.S. attorney puts into the main system, and it would show him up over here stealing or whichever with names, and so they could cross-reference. Well, they couldn't have that because they were committing the frauds. So what they did is they took that software, and they had Wackenhut, which Michael Riconosciuto and Gunderson both were working for, and their squad, and they had Michael take it. He was a Jason Society. He's in prison because of Gunderson setting him up. And they had them take that and develop that software with the trap door where Bush could spy on other countries and their leaders and so forth. And they hooked it up to the West Star satellite system, which Bush was in control of at East Systems, Dallas, Texas, where he was running the hit teams out of, Division Number 4 CIA hit teams, privatized. Ollie North testified in the Iran-Contra hearings when Al Mark, my friend, had caused them. He testified that E-Systems was part of the company, quote unquote. Well, E-Systems is all hooked up with what is with Area 51 and the aliens. People are unaware of that. It's owned by Raytheon. Margaret Thatcher's son had gotten a paycheck off there. George W. Bush was getting paychecks all during the 1980s and 90s. Jeb Bush, Neil Bush, and all of them, including Daddy Bush, off of E-Systems. Well, E-Systems stole or took the West Star satellite system under their control as a defense contractor in the 1980s as a result of Bush, Daddy Bush. And they were able to hook in the Inslaw software into that West Star satellite system with another unnamed character named Raymond Lavis that worked with Ted Gunderson. And he sat up and developed it after they threw Riconosciuto in jail for opening his mouth. And he was able to change radio frequencies and light in midair with that software. And so they put it in the West Star satellite system. A couple of the space shuttles gone up there and grabbing satellites and fixing satellites, and they put it in there. And so by 1990, they had it hooked up to where they could control just about anything. And this is one of the reasons they brought the electronic voting machines into effect all across the country in the 90s. So by late 1990s, almost every district had electronic voting machines. So all they had to do was take their satellite and zap those electronic voting machines, and they could turn the numbers back, and they got their candidate. And that's what has happened to America and how the overthrow has happened.
Hey, listen, Steve, I want to welcome you to the show tonight. How you doing? I know you've been listening, so did Stu cover your question?
Oh, my question? I don't believe I heard it. I was the one that proposed the question about election fraud concerns, because I'm very happy with what I'm hearing here about the concept that they're going through this forced resignation process with these shills, et cetera, but at the same time I'm asking myself, what difference does it make if they still control the voting machines?
Yeah, isn't that what Karl Marx said, or was it Stalin? You don't care who they vote for as long as he gets to count the votes.
Right, or what the Rothschilds said, which is like, as long as I control the money, I care not who makes the laws.
Right.
Well, I think
I'm sorry,
Stephen, the caller, I think is.
Yeah, Steve Travesty is another host here.
Steve.
Yes.
I just touched on that, gave an answer. You didn't hear it, and I think you need to just go back to this segment of the show, and so I'm not being redundant, but they control it through the West Star satellite system. I just went into detail on this.
West Star satellite system. I'll look it up.
Hooked up with these systems, Daddy Bush, and just go back to this pre-recorded or this recorded interview when it's over with, and listen to what I just said. Okay. Daddy Bush and Inslaw have been able to put a trap door in the back end of it. They're able to control the voting machines. They do it from E-Systems of Dallas, Texas. Okay.
Oh no, I get the I get the revelation of how they do that. I mean, like, I think it's great that we're going through the process of getting rid of the tyrants. But how do we? But how do we also? Are you saying that just by exploiting this, getting that system out of the voting machines, is what's going to happen, or what we need?
No, Stephen, and this is where guys like you need to pick up the ball and run to your local, governors and your local elected election commissioners and your secretary of states that control this, and bring it to the fact that these electronic voting machines can be rigged. It's been proven. It's been proven that they're rigged, and there's enough evidence out here. And believe me, if someone wanted to get on the bandwagon and go back, we need to go back to hand-counted votes. Is the only way you're going to keep these tyrants from being able to control this in the future. Electronic voting machines are screwing this country in half. I don't think there's been one honest election, quite frankly, since the late 1990s.
Okay, I want to welcome Bill Grant, just joined us. Bill, you got a pertinent question for Stu?
Actually, sorry, I don't have a question. But,
then what are you calling for? My gosh.
But I actually just wanted to comment quick. I'm glad you're on, Stu. I'm interested in everything you have to say. And I just wanted to say, no matter what you say about anybody, I respect it. Okay, that's all. So whoever you talk about, good or bad, however known they are for being somebody's hero, I don't care. I want to hear what you think. So I'm just glad you're here. Thanks for your opinion.
I thank you for that, Bill. I do. But the only reason I even brought Gunderson up was because other people brought him up last week on Stephen's show, so I did 2 pieces this week on Veterans Today to show people who he was. I had the guy trying to kill me with a SWAT team, okay, because he was trying to extort me on the documents I didn't have. And I even have a threat the next day. He calls me up, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna put you in jail. It's right on my YouTube /Stu Webb 1 at YouTube. It's right there. So You know, I had wrath of this guy. I mean, he was working for the governments, infiltrating the patriot community. You can ask a whole bunch of people out here. I mean, there has been a bundle of them making comments that were whistleblowers. Kathy O'Brien, Mark Phillips, the list goes on. Jackie McGauley, the McMartin School, myself. I mean, there's tons and tons of people that have been hit by this guy and his squad. And it's interesting. Gene Tatum is interviewed by him one time down at a global science meeting. Suddenly, I bring Tatum into the airways in the past 2 weeks, and what happens? His squad, his bunch of non-badge carrying, non-gun carrying trolls that are going around stooging people, just like Doug Millar trying to stooge Revolution Radio, Lorraine Fenton, and screw up her meetings at her conferences she does. Suddenly, when my name's mentioned to him, he moved out of where he was in California and ran supposedly back to Colorado.
So, Stu,
no.
that means now I know who tried to mess me up from showing up to Laurie and Super Soldier program. They tried to stop me messing with the web. Absolutely, not a question about it. So, as an example.
Oh, Bill. Gordon Duff did a nice article. It's in one of those articles up on Veterans Today. In the middle column of my website, it says the latest ones. It says APEC ran child sex rings, and the other one says the octopus, nothing is secret. Go into those. It's in one of the two stories where Gordon Duff wrote one about trolls, and how that the military intelligence has identified that a combination of organized crime, the APEC crowd, and the government, the bad guys in government inside FBI and other agencies, are actually have hired these people to be out there on the internet to slander people and to, be disinformation to the American people, to slander those and defame those that are telling the truth. So it's in there. They're $25 an hour stooges.
Yeah, thank you for that.
A lot of money there. All right, Steve, Bill, thanks for joining us. We still got about 15 minutes left in the show, so let's get some more callers in here. Area code 347.
I'm going to try to ring up Tatum on his cell and find out exactly what's going on.
All right, you do that, and I'll do some company business here. All right, callers, 347-688-2902. Please join us. Skype in at Freedom Screen. And again, as I said, Stu and Gene Chip Tatum will be joining us here shortly. And don't worry, though, we're gonna carry this into the next show, which is Major Tom's Ground Control of Major Tom. And I know Major Tom is in the chat room right now listening. So, Tom, we're going to we're going to be here for you. So, I'm sure you're looking forward to that. And again, you guys, listener-supported radio, we do need your help. And all of you that are helping us, we do certainly appreciate everything that you do. And please continue to do that, because you are very much responsible for the success that we are having and for the effect that our voices are having out there in the world, disseminating the truth and fighting the disinformation that we're all fighting against. So, anyway, my voice is still there. It's almost gone. I'm starting to hack a little bit, and I think the drugs are wearing off. I don't want to take any more before I go to bed, but I'm sure I can stick around for another couple hours. But anyway, hopefully Stu will be successful in getting Gene Chip Tatum on here. I know I'm excited, looking forward to having him, and I know that, like Stu said, that once he gets through some of this media circus that he's involved in right now, hitting all the various shows and working on his television program that he's getting ready to be involved in, that we'll probably have him on our show very soon, all to ourselves.
I'm not reaching him, Steve, and he said he would be back. Normally he would be. And if for some reason he doesn't come on here with us, which he was supposed to have, you ought to put him on by yourself, maybe next week sometime.
Well, I'm certainly happy to do that, and if you could help me arrange that, I would enjoy it.
I've given you his contact information. Just write him a note right here on Skype. How's that sound?
That sounds good. And I see that he's just joined Facebook here recently, and I friended him on Facebook. I guess he wasn't on Facebook prior to this, huh?
Well, no, he's been up there for about 3 or 4 months, I believe. He's kind of been in the background, and even with his website, he was in the background, not with his name on it, but another site that he had done. And he's been around. He's done a couple stories in the past 3 or 4 months. People just didn't really look at whose name was on it.
Okay. Well, let's see. Steve Travesty has gone, and Bill is gone. And, like I said, guys, we still have time. Take advantage of this. Call in and ask Stu some questions. We have any more questions in chat I'm looking at here? You see anything that, Sean, you see anything pertinent here? You guys have got kind of quiet in chat there.
No, nothing's jumping out immediately. I think there might be a couple more up in the chat here in Skype that you could... I think we have got to.
Scroll up here. Yeah. Wow. Oh, my goodness gracious. Stu, you're talking about your ex-wife. Gosh, my ex-wife, I think she's kind of happy to not have to deal with the crazy phone calls and the surveillance and all that. I think she sort of enjoys having a normal life now. You know what I mean? I don't think she felt that she was threatened.
Talking about attempted murder on our child. The police were summoned. She had agreed to undergo psychiatric evaluation by the child welfare in the state of Texas in exchange for not going to jail for attempted murder of my daughter, of which she admitted to doing, and in exchange for assault and battery on me. And when our child's only 28 days old, and after shrinks came out, talked with her for an extensive period of time. This went on for 4 or 5 hours that night. She had agreed to undergo psychiatric evaluation within 7 days. I'd already taken her 3 shrinks. She was married. I was the second husband. The first one, she threw knives at him. Identical relationships. About a year of living together, courting, dating, whatever. Then 3 years of marriage. The first 3 years of the total time together of 4 years always were good. And then in the last year, she felt seeded into the relationship, felt that she was in love, and that's when the child abuse, now adult syndrome came out. And she was, a sex slave at these satanic pre-ritual parties. Anthony LaVey, Anton LaVey's son, did an interview with me. It's up on my site. It's in that link of down in the middle column of VT was right about the satanic ceremonies. And Anthony was castrated there in Denver, Colorado. His father started the Church of Satan. He talks in that interview, which just blew me out, that he even brought it up, that he was locked in the big tunnel underneath the big house with my former brother-in-law, Scott Millman, because they weren't good little boys. They wouldn't let him sodomize them at the pre-ritual party. It's in there. Well, Millman had this big tunnel underneath his house at number 1 Eudora Street in Denver. There was a Frank Lloyd Wright designed home, and it was an 8,500 square foot passive solar ranch. One of it's very unusual for that time frame. It sits up on the hilltop there in Denver at number 1st and Colorado Boulevard. And they did a lot of Frank Lloyd Wright, the builder did, designed houses in there. But he talks about that. So,
Stu, let me bring it. We got a caller here that just joined us. Let me bring him in while we got some time left. Area code 334. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name's Paul from Montgomery, Alabama.
Hey, Paul.
I was wondering if there was any truth to, I'm really changing the topic. I'm sorry, and it's very late in the game. But at any rate, that was my question. Was there any truth to the Leo Wanta exposés?
Yes.
Leo Wanta?
Yes, I know Leo personally. I've known him since 1997. It's all true. What he did for Ronald Reagan is all true. Matter of fact, I just reposted his interview yesterday that John Stokes had asked me to fill in that day, and I put him on the air with me. There's a couple other interviews that I had done with him, but Leo is, they're trying to murder him, quite frankly. It's all true. The whole, there's an interview there, and you can listen to it. It's a very good interview. I brought a friend of mine. She's a friend of a lot of people. Remy Lewis, I brought her in at the request of John Stokes, matter of fact, to co-host the show that day. He asked me to fill in at the last minute, and so she had the, an awake American patriot, female side of things, her line of questioning. I just sat back and let her run with it. And Leo answered the questions. So it's a great interview. People ought to listen to it.
What radio program was that?
You can find this. It was on John Stokes' show. He's rated on the top 100, but it's on the middle column of Stu Webb, my site, STEWWEB.com. It's the very bottom link on the middle column on my site on the computer. And if you're scrolling down, just look where it says 2013 top audios and videos.
Thank you so much, sir. I'll follow up. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Oh, boy. What are we down to, Sean? Looks like we got about, 6 or 7 minutes left in the show?
Looks like we're not going to have Gene tonight. I apologize for that. So, Stephen, he said he would be back, and obviously something has occurred, okay?
Oh, excuse me.
And I'll send you the contact. We'll talk about it after we get off the air here, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. But again, Stu, you're welcome to join me with Major Tom in the show that's going to be following.
I'll continue the show with you, and Gene might just get back, and if he does, we'll drag him in.
Yeah, if he does, that'd be great. I'm sure Tom would enjoy it. So, anyway.
I mean, he's in the middle of something that's going to be TV produced. I can't say where, but it's going to be different things that he was involved with are going to hit the national TV here soon as a result of these meetings he's having today.
All right, I'm going to take this in another direction real quick. We've only got a few minutes left, but I'm here on the California coast, and for me, one of the biggest issues in the world right now, of course, is Fukushima and the fact that the Pacific Ocean is dying, and I'm getting irradiated every day. And, obviously everybody in the United States and the whole world is going to be affected by this. We talk about Israel and Jerusalem and these guys trying to run the world. I mean, do these people really think that there's going to be anything left when we're all exposed to this radiation? I mean, what the hell is going to be left?
Well, I believe that based on what I've heard, that they think they're going to live to be 150 years under the current conditions of Earth. Mm-hmm. Daddy Bush himself has said in the press several times that he's going to be 150 years old. I think he really believes that in his satanic mind because of the alien, the / fallen angel that possesses him. I did a story about the Illuminati Wizard of Oz and touched on this. It's up on Veterans Today on my, if you go to Veterans Today / Stu Webb, /author /S Webb, it's there, the middle column of my site takes you directly to that page. But they really believe at the current time that they can stay alive to that age. They believe that by the time they live to be 150, that, they're in their 80s now, that they're going to be able to live to be 300 to 600 years of age because they're going to eliminate all diseases and they're going to do all these other fantastic things. Well, I don't think that they understand that they're on the wrong side. God's not going to allow that to happen. He only gives them so much rope and then they hang themselves.
Well, you think they feel like the chosen people are somehow impervious to radiation?
They believe that. And, of course, remember, they've got their own flying saucers here. The U.S. Arsenal, I got John Laird to admit to it. His father developed the anti-gravity saucers between 1952 and 1956. And I said, John, isn't it true that there's 150 saucers in the U.S. Arsenal, the military? And he says, I think you hit the number right, Stu. And that's about how many I've been told that we have. Israel has them. Germany has them, Russia has them, UK has them, Britain, that is. And so that's a lot of these sightings that people see is a lot of the military, not only the aliens, I mean, they're around, but the military side. So, and they're building a huge base in Mars and a huge base in the moon. And according to what John Laird claims, there's more than 250,000 people up there on the moon and Mars both. and they're using them to dig out these tunnels, slave labor up there. Well, if they're capable of getting in their saucer and being at the moon in a short period of time, or up on Mars at a short period of time, what are we really up against? We're up against entities, fallen angels, aliens, that are here to test us, because we're in a testing ground with God, either right or wrong, good or evil. And if that is the case, what do they hate about us? We have control over them, one, and two, they're the fallen ones. They know their day's coming at some point, and they're going to be totally destroyed and thrown in the lake of fire in the tail end of this. They hate us. They've tried to clone us. They've tried to reproduce us with animals. They've got pods, I understand, of fish on the East Coast and the West Coast that scream and yell. People up in Portland, Oregon, were hearing all these screams this past summer. Sounded like fish out there screaming. These are those pods of partial...
Oh, boy. We're out of time, Stu.
Okay.
Stick around. Listen, I want to thank all the listeners, everybody in chat, and I want to thank Sean, Stu, all the callers. Thank you for being with us. Join us next week, and stick around because we're going to carry this on into the next show. So thank you all very much for being with us. God bless you. Good night.